Welcome to CBC Windsor News at 6. I'm Meg Roberts. Thanks so much for spending part of your evening with us tonight. The City of Windsor is hiring about 40 new auxiliary officers on top of sworn officers as part of the downtown's revitalization plan. Plus, community partners are participating in a new campaign, one that's committed to ending violence against women and children. And the Gordie Howe International Bridge is changing our skyline view in various parts of the city. We take a look at where you can notice its expansion the most. There'll be more officers downtown now that the city's Strength in the Core plan has been approved. That includes a major increase in auxiliary officers. The CBC's Chris Ensing on the role they'll play downtown.
This group has hit a key part of their career, auxiliary police officers.
Just joined, and I'm very excited for the season to start and for the year to come.
The past 3 months have been a roller coaster, lots of hard training, but it's all worth it in the end.
Just last night, a ceremony surrounded by friends and family. 41 auxiliary officers sworn into the service.
And when I grabbed the diploma, I felt very accomplished. Everything like I worked for leading up to that moment. And again, it's just another stepping stone for the future career, but I was very proud of myself.
They join a team of nearly 100 auxiliary officers. Windsor's police chief saying it's the biggest compliment the city has had, and it's about to grow. The recently approved Strength in the Core plan brings more auxiliary officers on board, 138 in total. And this is in addition to 12 police officers joining the downtown core as part of the plan. Yesterday, one advocate told CBC that more money should be invested in treatment programs and affordable housing instead of hiring more officers.
We have an incredible auxiliary team. They punch above their weight all the time. They're well led, well deported, and they do excellent work, and you're going to see a lot of them as the nice weather rolls in.
Auxiliary officers typically monitor parks and trails. They also work special events throughout the city. They work in pairs and wear uniforms. It's volunteer work that many see as a stepping stone to a career in policing because it offers valuable training and on-the-job experience.
I think it's a very good stepping stone as we do the ride-alongs with police officers, so we get that real-life policing experience.
These new officers will focus on 2 priority areas as part of the plan, Riverfront Trail and Festival Plaza. They'll also be a key part of patrols downtown, thanks to the plan unanimously approved by council.
It makes me feel like the public is actually getting interested in the police. You hear a lot recently in the news how people don't trust police officers. I feel like that's what kind of my push was to join auxiliary. I want people to feel that the police they're approachable, that you can talk to them. And that was something that the chief emphasized in our swearing in last night, how there's going to be a bigger presence for auxiliary officers in our downtown core.
Auxiliary officers do not carry guns and can only arrest people the way regular people can, a citizen's arrest. But they can enforce park bylaws, issuing tickets for liquor offenses and smoking violations. The city says it's found that uniformed presence helps prevent vandalism and provides a sense of safety. These officers see it as a major part of their career path with deep connections to the city and the service and dreams of becoming a Windsor police officer.
It is an honor, for someone like me who's had a passion for law enforcement ever since I was young, to now finally have the biggest experience in my life going towards that big goal. It means so much to me.
Chris Ensing, CBC News, Windsor.
Hospital and community leaders came together today to kick off the Moose Hide campaign in Windsor. It's a national Indigenous-led movement that looks to end violence against women and children by encouraging boys and men to become allies. Across Canada, those involved in the Moose Hide campaign did a walk to raise awareness. Hotel Du Gray's Healthcare hosted the local event, which included an educational town hall, a smudging ceremony, a walk around the hospital, and guest speakers. Indigenous elder Teresa Sims was one of them, speaking about being in an abusive relationship. And a warning to our audience that this story references domestic violence.
Sometimes I didn't know what mood he was in. And if I came around the corner and he was upset with someone, he'd just turn around, and that was the last I remember. Because he would knock me out and just leave me there, walk over me. Burning or scolding me. I had that from my first husband. If I fell asleep before he came home, he used a cigarette and used to burn me to wake me up. Stats show that First Nations, Métis, and Inuit women between the ages of 25 to 44 are 5 times more likely than other women of the same age to die as a result of violence.
I had seen the campaign last year. I was involved with it in another agency, another city. And then when I came to this role, I mentioned it to different people, and we thought it was a great fit for what the hospital wanted to do, trying to bring community involvement and, making a safe space here. As a man with daughters, I certainly want to make sure that my children are safe when they leave the house. And I'm sure they're, if you ask any father, do you want to have, your child safe when they leave the house, they're going to say yes. So, it begins with us and brings to our next generation, and that's what it's about. It's showing that next generation that we care enough to do something like this so they can follow through.
Ontario will revamp how it compensates injured migrant workers. Workplace Safety and Insurance Board President says the changes affect how the board pays a worker who cannot return to a job due to injury but is able to work elsewhere. The WSIB pays workers 85% of their salary if they are hurt on the job and unable to return to that role, but it claws back money that is earned from other work. Lang says that is not fair because migrant workers who return home after injury usually earn far less in their countries than if they worked the same job in Ontario full-time. Lang says he's sorry for how they were compensated prior. One advocate says this news sends a clear message.
One really important take-home from this decision is that the idea that migrant workers who come here to work on our farms are disposable is an idea whose time is ended and should be over, and that when workers come here and they are working in a very dangerous industry like agriculture, that they need to be protected, and that if they are injured, they need to be compensated, and they can't just be merely forgotten about and disposed of, sent home to their home countries injured without any compensation.
The Windsor-Essex County Health Unit is getting nearly $1.9 million in additional base funding from the provincial government. Windsor-Tecumseh MPP Andrew Dowie says this is following a commitment from the province to fund 75% of public health units. In January, the local health unit said it was forced to lay off 24 employees because of a budget crunch. Those job cuts included school nurses and employees tasked with helping people quit smoking. This new money for the health unit is for this year and the next fiscal year. At the health unit board meeting tonight, officials said they were expecting this money and it's already been budgeted for. Leamington's hospital says a new machine for mammograms will significantly enhance how patients are able to fight breast cancer. Erie Shores Healthcare pointed to the machine's capabilities of contrast-enhanced imaging. This will expedite diagnosis and improve patient outcomes. The new equipment and renovations cost about $700,000. They've also extended hours to 6 days a week to reduce the backlog of cases. Now staff are able to do 25 mammograms each week. The Gordie Howe Bridge is changing our skyline view in certain parts of the city. We spoke with an urban designer and some civil engineers to see if that new view has postcard image potential.
I think that the bridge, you can see it from many different vantage points in the city. And I think it has the opportunity to become a symbol for the city. That postcard image, or at least in conjunction with the Ambassador Bridge as this dual bridge image of the city. And I think it can serve as a modern symbol as opposed to the Ambassador Bridge, which is more of a traditional symbol of that connection between Detroit and Windsor.
Have you been up the hill to see it before?
Once, but progress was not made yet. So I look, there's a new park up there. There's the binoculars. So that's what we're trying to get a look of today.
It does look great, to be honest with you. I do live on the riverside, so I can see it from my window. And comparing it to the Ambassador Bridge, it's a huge feat, to have done. Since Windsor is a bit more quiet than it should be, I feel like it should be revitalized. Have more people coming in, more businesses.
So do you think that a big sort of piece of architecture like that can give that kind of hope to a city?
Hopefully, that's what we look forward to.
There's an opportunity to sort of highlight these views of the bridge, like the one we have down Wyandotte here. Are there ways to light things at night so that that view is highlighted and becomes that postcard kind of image? And find, the viewpoints from other areas in the city, and how can we articulate those views and make it important and make it become a destination where you see it and you go, I want to go to that thing. I want to be able to see exactly what's happening there. A point of curiosity for the visitor.
Detroit's population has grown for the first time in decades, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. The numbers released today show the population of Michigan's largest city rose by 1,800 people for a population of just over 631,000. In the 1950s, the city had 1.8 million residents, but those numbers began to plummet as people migrated to the suburbs. The city also filed for bankruptcy in 2013 following a national economic downturn. In 2022, the city sued the Census Bureau over population estimates from 2021 that showed the city lost 7,000 residents. Detroit's mayor said this is a day the city has been waiting the last 10 years for, and mentioned how critically important for their national brand that the Census Bureau certifies Detroit as growing. Another local athlete has won her ticket to the Paris Olympics. She's no stranger to the world stage. LaSalle's Kylie Moss will be back in the pool for her third Olympic Games, trying for her fifth Olympic medal. Yesterday, she won the women's 100-meter backstroke at the Canadian Swimming Trials, securing her spot on Team Canada.
I think it's been building for a while. It's been a long time since I was in the 57s. It's been 3 years, and it feels really good to be back there and to just know I can build off of that.
Britt, you look amazing in the water, I just have to say, but your stroke is, you're riding the water well. How does that bode for your 200 tomorrow?
Yeah, I think I'm holding a lot of water, which is good, and as my stroke rate slows down a little bit in the 200, I think I'll be able to just capitalize on that strength of holding the water and put up a good 200, hopefully.
This time of year, there's no shortage of entertainment in the skies. The spring bird migration brings hundreds of species to Windsor, Essex, especially to Point Pelee National Park, where the Festival of Birds runs from May 1st to the 20th. CBC Windsor wants to see your best photos of these special visitors, whether that was taken in natural areas around Windsor, Essex, or even in your own backyard. If you submit, we'll feature your photo here on CBC News platforms, and you'll get a chance to win some CBC Windsor merch. The CBC's Mike Evans, our in-house bird nerd, will judge the contest. Please send along your best bird images to windsor@cbc.ca with the subject line, Spring Migration Photo. Please include your name, where and when the photo was taken, and the bird's species. The deadline to submit is May 31st. Well, from start to finish today, we had beautiful weather and temperatures here in Essex County, and we're going to talk to Colette coming up after the break. Well, Colette, you know Thursday nights are volleyball night here for CBC Windsor staff, so I'm warming up a little bit. But boy, losing, Thursday after Thursday, it makes it a lot easier when the weather's nice.
As long as you're having fun, right? Yeah, just put in your best effort. I think the first time you told me, I thought you were playing softball, and then I realized it was volleyball. But anyway, either way, we'll have some pretty nice conditions for you. But I'm going to start off with conditions that are actually favorable as well in parts of Western Canada. Maybe not so much for outdoor sports, but in terms of the forest fire and wildfire situation. So some widespread rains carrying on. Seen some of this moving out of BC, but another system kind of pushing in there. And some of the heavier rains, not just around Fort McMurray, but even further south. Yes, some lightning strikes here too, but you can see those are also a little bit further south. So could that start some more fires? It could, but some of our real target areas that are under threat, those communities will be helped by this rainfall, and also some of the cooler temperatures there, giving some improvement. So a little bit of humidity in there, a little moisture, making things perhaps slow down a little bit, okay? We have cool air to the north of us, but that's not the case anywhere if you travel from the Soo all the way down towards Windsor, low 20s, and we're going to be finding the trend is actually of those temperatures climbing over the next few days. And not only that, but how about the humidity climbing a little bit too? So just take a look at the current temperatures, Sarnia at 24, that 22 for Windsor, and now we'll show you the humidex. Yeah, we're gaining some there. Not exactly sticky, but there's a little bit of that moisture in the air, and you'll feel it more as we go into the weekend. Right now, we are seeing those winds coming in from a generally southerly direction, a little bit different there towards Goderich. They're nearly calm though. And so this next system, we have to get past it before we can get to the fine weather coming for the weekend. Now, in terms of it having an impact on your evening, I think some of this will start to dry up or dissipate before it crosses the international border, but it's not all going to dry up and dissipate. So it's going to be more towards the later evening and overnight hours that we will begin to have some of these showers make their way in. And then tomorrow, as things start to brew, that's when we'll have a chance of an isolated thunderstorm kind of here or there with that instability in the atmosphere. So that's all got to work its way through. There's Friday morning. By Friday afternoon, still a little bit of pop-up stuff, but generally the sun is coming out and we're already into improvement for the second half of the day tomorrow. Now some low-level cloud, a little bit of fog possible Saturday morning. That will burn off very quickly because of all the sunshine that we're going to have. And so the overnight temperatures, those are mild as well. And just talking about the heat, like what do I mean? How about this? So tomorrow we'll get to 24, especially as things improve in the afternoon, 26 on Saturday, and then yes, we're going to take a run at 30 for a holiday weekend. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. I'm excited now for tomorrow's forecast as we get a little closer to the weekend there. Thanks so much for that, Colette. You're welcome. The OPP is speaking out about safety on Ontario's highways. More on that coming up.
The OPP is concerned about safety on Ontario's highways. They say last year was the deadliest on its roads in more than 15 years. Greg Ross explains why.
According to the OPP, highway fatalities have been trending in the wrong direction for the last several years, but 2023 was the worst they've seen in a long time.
411 people were killed in road collisions investigated by the OPP across the province, and last year was the first year since 2007 where we actually exceeded 400 road fatalities.
The OPP say there are a number of reasons they're seeing this, and the majority of the time it involves drivers not obeying the rules of the road.
Aggressive driving, impaired driving, distracted driving, and then not wearing your proper safety equipment. It's so critically important that we understand the rules of the road and we share the road safely, responsibly, and understand the consequences for making a bad decision can be deadly.
Drivers we spoke to today say they're witnessing it firsthand.
Yesterday when I was driving, I saw about maybe 3 incidences of people just racing.
You often see the cars weaving in and out to get around cars that are in the wrong lane.
A lot of people changing lanes without indicating, without checking blind spots.
We should be more cautious of what kind of drivers we're allowing on the road.
The Ontario Safety League says drivers these days face a lot of distractions.
We've turned the interior of a car into an entertainment center.
President and CEO Brian Patterson says too many drivers are multitasking behind the wheel.
What we're really seeing is bad driving habits, particularly distracted drivers who are putting everybody at risk while they're exceeding the speed limit, trying to change the channel, and have a Zoom call with their staff while driving.
With the long weekend coming up, the OPP say they'll be out looking for distracted drivers and anyone else not following the rules of the road. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
In Alberta, more than 6,000 people remain out of their homes as firefighters battle an out-of-control wildfire near Fort McMurray. But rain, cooler temperatures, and calmer winds are now giving the crews an assist. CBC's Julia Wong has the latest.
There is some cautious optimism from officials about the wildfire that's threatening Fort McMurray. As of Thursday morning, the fire was about 20,000 hectares, and it remains mere kilometers from the community. There are 172 firefighters, 22 helicopters, and 57 pieces of heavy equipment that are working to try and tackle the flames. Officials say that this fire will take time, it will take work to put out because of the size and scope of this fire, but also because of how dry conditions have been. Now, the area has been getting some rain and more is expected in the coming days. Crews will need a lot more to put out those flames completely, but they say this is a good start.
We're graced with Mother Nature's kindness here today. We'll take as much rain as we can get on the fire. Obviously, it will have a positive impact versus what we had witnessed a few days prior.
It's good to hear. Yeah, it means that we'll be able to get home sooner than later.
Officials say that evacuees should be prepared to stay away from the community until next Tuesday at the earliest. They say they don't want to bring people back in, only to have the flames flare up again and have to evacuate people a second time. Julia Wong, CBC News, Lac La Biche, Alberta.
Donald Trump's hush money trial in New York is in its final stretch. Today, his former lawyer and fixer faced another round of grilling by Trump's lawyers who continued to attack his integrity and credibility. Michael Cohen's testimony could potentially make or break the case for the former U.S. president. Sally Patterson reports from outside the courthouse.
Donald Trump's attorneys have a two-pronged approach when it comes to dealing with Michael Cohen. Firstly, discrediting the testimony he's given so far in Trump's hush money trial, and secondly, trying to discredit him as a witness overall. They've been examining him throughout the day here in New York City, asking him about the testimony that he's already given. They've also been digging into his past and the lies that he's admitted he made both to Congress, to the media, and in fact to judges in cases gone by. They say that proves that he is not a reliable witness and instead is a angry, disgruntled former employee. The court heard a recording played from last year where Cohen is heard saying, "I truly hope that this man ends up in prison. You better believe I want this man to go down and rot inside for what he did to my family." They're trying to prove that Cohen's allegations that Trump knew everything about the payment made allegedly to Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 presidential election to try and suppress negative information just before Americans went to the polls was actually nothing to do with Donald Trump and everything to do with Michael Cohen. Instead, Trump proclaims he's innocent, calling this a witch hunt, political interference at the very highest level. He was joined in court on Thursday by his usual entourage of Republican lawmakers. Here's what they had to say.
This is a made-up crime. No other American in the country would be charged with this type of crime. It's like the Mr. Potato Head doll of crimes, where they had to stick together a bunch of things that did not belong together.
Michael Cohen's testimony could make or break this case for the jury. This is expected to be the last witness so far, as the defense has suggested they won't be pulling up any witnesses of their own. That could change in the coming days and weeks. Sally Patterson for CBC News, New York.
A French-Swiss artist has painted a giant piece of art on grass to bring attention to the plight of migrants crossing from Africa to Europe. Land artist Sipe is known for creating massive frescoes on grass, sand, or snow around the world. He uses eco-friendly paint, mostly made out of chalk and charcoal. This one, called Bright Dreams, shows a little girl tilting a lighthouse to help guide a boat. The lights are real lamps placed on grass. The inflatable boat nearby is propped with stuffed dolls representing refugees huddled together. Well, that's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website. Thanks so much for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you back here tomorrow night.